You know, we could all use some encouragement. And I've got some good news for you. Welcome to 5 Minutes with Mark. Well, greetings, friends. Welcome back to 5 Minutes with Mark. We're here in Mark chapter 10. And we're going to pick up at verse 19. I remember this young man has come, knelt in front of Jesus on the road and said, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus says this, "You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not bear false witness. Do not defraud. Honor your father and your mother." And he answered and said to him, "Teacher, all these things I have kept from my youth." Then Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said to him, "One thing you lack. Go your way, sell whatever you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, take up the cross and follow me." But he was sad at this word and went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. The man asked, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus says, "Well, first you understand the commandments." And the man says, "I've kept the commandments." And you notice Jesus doesn't challenge him on that. In other words, this is a righteous man in as much as you can be righteous in yourself. He was a self-righteous man. Again, he's looking for, what must I do? Jesus says, "Well, did you keep all the rules?" And he says, "I've kept the rules. I didn't murder anyone. I didn't commit adultery. I've never stolen. I've never bore false witness. I honor my parents. I've done the things that God said I should do." And Jesus said, "Good." And I think it's only in the Gospel of Mark that we have this little addition in verse 21. Then Jesus, looking at him, loved him. We have the same story in Matthew and Luke, but in Mark, he loved him. In other words, Jesus' heart is soft toward this guy. He sees him, and he sees that he's earnestly looking for the answer, and that he's genuinely tried to live his life in a method that is pleasing to God in as much as he knows how. And Jesus looks at him, and he's moved with compassion, he's moved with love, and he says to him, "You know, you're good at keeping the rules, but you still have a heart problem. Let me tell you what you need to do." And because he says, "One thing you lack. There's one thing you don't have that you need to inherit eternal life." Did you pick up on that? Go your way, sell whatever you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Jesus says, look, you got full bank accounts on earth, but your bank account in heaven is empty. You lack something. You lack spiritual wealth. You say, "What can I do to inherit eternal life?" But you have no inheritance because you are not in the family. You're not connected. You can. And for this man, Jesus says, what you need to do is, instead of relying on your possessions, instead of relying on your wealth, instead of relying on the comforts of this world that you have in abundance, you need to go divorce yourself from them. Go give it away. A change of heart is necessary. Go give it all away. And when you do that, then your bank account in heaven is going to be opened. You'll have treasure in heaven. Oh, and then come back, take up the cross, and follow me. Jesus says, there's only one way to have a relationship with me, and that's through self-denial and willingness to enter into suffering. You must die to yourself to be a follower of Jesus. Have you ever heard that? It's true, and that's consistent in everything that Jesus teaches. It's the kingdom principle, this upside down way of seeing things. The greatest is the least. The leader is the servant. And Jesus says, you must die to yourself. You must deny yourself. You must willingly take up the instrument of your death and then walk with me in obedience to my will, not your will. Then we have a relationship, because a relationship is built on truth, because I am God and you're not. There is only one who is good, Jesus said, remember? And you're not it, but I am. Take up your cross and follow me. Divorce yourself from the world. And it said the man went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. It was more than he could do. He was perfectly comfortable with relying on himself to achieve whatever goal Jesus put in front of him, except he could not give away all the possessions that he had. We live in a world that tells us that the more we have, the more successful we are. But in the kingdom, Jesus would say, the more you give away, the more eternal treasures you have. The more you serve, the more eternal treasure you have. So you have two bank accounts. You have one that's here. You can keep up with it. You can pull up your account number on your phone, and you can transfer funds, you can pay bills, you can do everything you want. You can see how much money you have and whether or not the interest rates have changed. You can do all of that. Jesus says there's a more important account, and you need to be mindful of that. We have to be kingdom-minded people who are seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness, trusting in him to meet our needs. We have to live surrendered, submissive, and obedient lives. And that's not a message that sells a lot of books, but that's the gospel. That's what Jesus said. That's what the story of the rich young ruler is all about. And the disciples are about to scratch their head and try to figure this out. So we'll keep going. See you next time. I hope you're enjoying this Bible study, this quick devotion. If you'd like more content, you'd like to know more about me and see more of the things that I'm doing, check out my website, theeclecticmonk.com. There you'll find out about my video vlog, my podcast, and a whole lot of other stuff. Hope you'll join me there. Thanks.